take a million. Hello, hi, what's up? I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm hoping that this will make me feel somewhat better. This is just a random trial to see if this is a good outlet for how I'm feeling. I'm not the kind of person, I don't know the kind of person I am, but I'm not the kind of person who can easily talk to friends or just anybody about how I'm feeling. For the last 2 years, I've been going to counselling, and the amount of times I go to counselling in a week will just depend on what's happening and how I'm feeling. But I think over the last few months it has gotten worse, or my mental health has gotten a lot worse, and so I've not even felt confident enough to be able to go to counselling. And from time to time I will end up being at home for weeks at a time without leaving the house, and it's gotten to the point now where I need to figure out what I need to do and what I can do to feel better. This is the thing about mental health. I think people think that there's all these solutions and all these answers, and then when you try them, like mindfulness, or meditating, or even just talking, people just assume it's gonna work, and when it doesn't, it just makes you feel that much worse about yourself. And that's where I'm kind of at the moment, is I'm trying to figure out what my right solution is. The purpose of this video that I'm doing is because I've had a lot of thoughts about didn't mean to show my face. I just feel like I wanted to do this, but at the same time I didn't want to expose so much of myself. But like I said, this is just a trial. This is me trying to figure out what works and what can work. And I've wanted to do YouTube for a really long time. I get a lot of solace and comfort in it from people that I don't even know, but I wanted to give it a try, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it works, then amazing. I just wanted a place where I could actually talk. For a really long time I was blogging, but then I'd find myself reading back through my blogs in a few weeks later, and just feeling so drained and so sad. But I mean, there's lots of things that I want to talk about and I just want to explore, but today I just wanted to talk about really what's happening right now, because the biggest thing for me is I just cannot get out of this funk. The positive thing is I got a new job and I start on Monday, and I'm so excited because I am such a career driven person and I love working. I love being busy. I have really low self-esteem, and I grew up in an environment where my parents were so nurturing and so encouraging, but I was so confused about this is just part of a bigger story, but I grew up believing that I was nothing and I wasn't worth anything and that I would never amount to anything. And I had grown-ups telling me that I was not going to amount to anything. And when you're at 12 years old and you're being told by these grown-ups that you trust, not my parents, but when you grow up with adults that you trust, who you think at the time have everything put together and have everything figured out, and they have a nice house and a nice car, and then they tell you that you are going to amount to nothing, you believe it. And then when you experience that for years and years and years, it becomes this learnt belief and this learnt behavior. And my counselor always tells me that that's something that we need to work towards, is to try and unlearn these negative emotions and negative thoughts and talking yourself down all the time. Is something that we're learning. And in that 2 years, I've gotten through a lot of progress, but I don't feel like I am unlearning a lot of things still. And, therapy and counseling and time takes, no, it takes time to get to a point where you can start getting better. But I think I'm 27 years old, almost 28. But I have experienced more negativity, just my own personal negativity. And it's hard to just learn that. How do you unlearn 27 years of negativity against yourself in 1 hour counseling sessions? That's, anyway, why I wanted to talk today is because like I said, I'm starting a new job on Monday, and I'm really, really excited. And it's going to give me a sense of purpose that I haven't felt in a really long time. And I'm really excited, and everybody who I've told about this job have been really excited for me and have been celebrating for me. But one thing I've noticed is that I haven't been able to celebrate for myself, and I've been trying to numb a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings that I've been having so that I don't have to deal with them. But having to go out into the real world frequently again is really scary for me. Why is it really scary for me? Because my career and my job and my sense of worth holds a lot of reliance on how other people see me, and it's a really bad characteristic to have, because you shouldn't value yourself based on what other people think of you. But it's really hard to not think that way. It's really hard to not think about what other people are thinking. And I'm just really nervous, I guess, and I haven't been able to be excited. I haven't been able to have that new job, new me kind of feeling because of just how negative my previous work experience was. I was at a company for over 2 years, almost 3 years. I put so much into it. I was so grateful for every opportunity I was given, and at first it was the most amazing job. It was honestly the dream job that I had always wanted. I had amazing colleagues, I had an amazing manager, and just overall I just felt so safe to be creative and to really give it my all and to really work hard. And I felt safe. I did feel so safe. And I have had so many jobs over the years. I started working when I was 14. Whilst I was studying, I would juggle 2 to 3 jobs. And that's how I've always been. My parents have given me amazing work ethic. They've both worked really hard all of their lives. Everybody, or most of the people in my life, they hold a lot of value to working and working hard. And I value a lot of that, and I'd like to think that I do work hard. And the problem is my mental health. It holds me back a lot. And so really I'm the kind of employee you want to have, because I'm so negative about myself, and I don't believe I work hard enough, or I think that I am so worthless that I try even harder, and I try really, really hard. And with my previous workplace, it got to the point where no matter how hard I worked, I was just taken advantage of. And I know that a lot of people experience that, but coming back from my job before this one, not the new job, we're not talking about the new job right now, we're talking about my previous job, which I officially left on the 25th. And so you'd think that I would have felt so much better, but I didn't. Let me start from the beginning in terms of when the problem started. So I've always been kind of like a sick person. I don't want to go too much into things that just don't matter for what's going on right now, but like I've been through so much going into when I graduated. I I was suffering a lot. There's a lot of things going on, and despite that, I still wanted to have a job and work really hard, and I did, and I worked really, really hard in a job. I had a most amazing manager who became one of my very best friends, and she mentored me and taught me a lot. But then I had a really terrible, when she left, I had a new manager who was really awful, and I'm the kind of person who, because I experienced so much negativity and so much sadness in my life, I want to just share so much positivity and make people feel special. Like, I love my family, and I think because of me being so uncertain about my life, basically, when I got to a certain age, birthdays and Christmases and special occasions just became not so special anymore. And I, you know, just never felt really special for a really long time, and I never really talked to anyone about that because I just think it's so self-serving and so all about you, and I don't like it being like that. I don't like having any attention focused on me, because what's the point? Why? I am nothing. Anyway, so I like to make people feel special, and when I got to a point where I was working so hard and I was doing so much that I could, and then they hired a counterpart for me, and there was no need for that role, and I was so angry. And the only reason that the person got the job was because she was best friends with my manager, and she would literally sit there all day in the office looking at NatWest, like the bank, and I don't know what she was doing, but that's all she would do, and I would do all the work. I had an assistant who was amazing, but she required a lot of attention, and instead of us both teaching her, it was just me, and I was carrying a lot of the weight. And I got to the point where I was thinking, they won't let me have a pay rise, even though I've grown the business substantially. They won't let me have any more freedom, and now they're paying somebody to do nothing, but she's being paid the same amount as me. And the worst part is, she's my manager's best friend, so I can't complain or say anything about my worries and concern about her, because she's my manager's best friend. So I eventually got to the point where I just had this big breakdown, and I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't be carrying the business like this. So I left, and I felt devastated, because every time I experience a failure, I put it completely on me. I make it all about me, in the sense that it's my fault it didn't work out. I am the reason why this didn't happen. I am such a failure, and I've let my family and my parents down. And so I went through a really difficult time, and I went through different jobs. I was a PA for a time for this crazy managing director. He was so crazy, like, honestly, the requests he had. But even then, like, I kept a lot of my, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be better, I'm going to work really hard. And for a really long time, I was like, I'm going to prove that I am worth something, because I still had no self-worth. And don't get me wrong, this is the thing about mental health, is people assume that if you suffer from really poor mental health, it's because you don't have support, you don't have family, you don't have friends, and all of this. Or if you have all of those, then you're ungrateful and it's your fault. But honestly, if I could feel happy and give my family and my friends what they want in terms of how they want me to be, I would give them that. But I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. And like I said, the reason I'm trying this out is because nothing else that I've been trying lately has been working. So anyway, we move on from that, and I finally got to this most recent current job. And like I said, for the beginning, and at first, it was the most amazing thing. I met my very, very best friend there. And there's things that I've learned, and things that people I've met, that I'm so thankful for the job for. I'm really grateful for. But then, like I said, I've been suffering some ill health, and I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. So just really quick, for example, for the first year and a bit that I was at this job, I was experiencing serious just like energy loss, and I was quite productive, but I wasn't as productive as I wanted to be. And I would do things like, if I was in the car, I would be really tired to the point where I could fall asleep, and sometimes I would have to park up and sleep for maybe like an hour to be able to have the energy to drive home from work. Like, that's how serious it was. Or I'd find that I would sleep all weekend and then still feel absolutely exhausted. And so I started going through a series of tests and sleep studies, and eventually they found out I had sleep apnea and I wasn't breathing. It's something like an average person who has sleep apnea would stop breathing something like 5 times a minute over the course of the night. So that's like 5 times a minute. If you think how long 8 hours, I don't know, I'm not good at maths. But I was not breathing 30 times a minute. And so essentially it worked out to be something like, for every 4 hours of sleep I was getting, I was actually only really sleeping for 30 minutes. And so that was a lot. And so I went through a situation where I tried different solutions. Like, I have a sleep app machine, which makes a massive difference, but for a while it wasn't working for me, because I'm the kind of person who, when I sleep, I don't like anything really touching me, which is hard when you have a partner who likes to cuddle a lot. So yeah, for a while I wasn't having, the solution wasn't working for me. So it meant that I was really exhausted, and it meant that I couldn't be at work for a while, because it was just, going to work was dangerous. That I could fall asleep at any point. And anyway, so that was happening. Eventually it started to get better, and because I was on this I don't know what you call it, just, I had my sleep app, I was having my sleep monitored, I was trying to get a solution to this. And then me and my partner split up. And we'd been together, I think we'd been together 7 years at this point, and we just split up. And a lot of it, there's a lot of reasons for it. There was a lot of things, and again, it's not for this video, but we split up, and again, I suffered really major depression and anxiety, and I think like the biggest thing was I just lost my sense of self again, even more so than I already had. I was absolutely heartbroken, and I'm so used to being I've lived a really sheltered life. I've been really lucky. I went from having my dad completely support me and be my best friend and all that, to my dad, essentially handing me over. Oh god, it sounds so wrong, but handing me over to my partner, who was my best friend, who is my best friend. He was so supportive, but the thing is, he also lived a sheltered life, and he never really experienced mental health in the degree that I had it. So, again, there's just so much to it, but I don't want to talk about that right now. But the breakup did cause some issues in terms of, I just was really, really suffering. So I worked from home a lot. Anyway, eventually, I went on medication again, and I started going to counseling regularly. I completed a series of CBT, just mental health stuff. I did a lot, and I was going to my doctor regularly. I was really thinking about myself. I was going to the gym a lot. Like, it's just a lot of things. I was just I've always been the kind of person who's been really sporty and really active, and when my fluctuations with mental health and it becomes negative, I become a hermit, so I hide. And I think a lot of it, this round of poor mental health in my, I would say, proper adult years, because when I was at uni, I don't consider myself an adult, but when I first moved to where I live now, my ex-boyfriend, who was very, very abusive, he found out somehow, and he used to text me saying that he was going to kill me, or he's going to throw acid in my face, just really, really really scary things, and my partner and I would laugh it off. And literally I remember having that mentality of, oh, whatever, it's nothing, it's just hearsay, or not hearsay, it's just words, and words can't harm you. But then all of these like things that's happening in London, and people actually having acid thrown in their face, it becomes a really scary thing. And through counseling, I discovered that I probably suffered some PTSD, or a certain level of PTSD from that, because when I used to go running, or I used to be involved in a lot of clubs and activities, I used to love running and volleyball and basketball, and I used to cheerlead, and all of that kind of went out of the way because I got really scared of leaving my house. And I didn't realize at the time, this is the thing, I moved here 5 years ago. I think it's been 5 years, and at the time I didn't see me disappearing. I just stopped doing those things because I stopped feeling safe, and I never regain that. So the weight started to pile on, and the insecurities started to pile on, and as much as I want to believe it, my partner really isn't a shallow person. And so when he would say things like, when I met him I was a size 6, and I hate valuing myself for saying, you know, that mattered, but I still have the dress that I met him in, and I still say like I'd love to wear it again one day for our anniversary. But anyway, so yeah, the weight started to pile on, the insecurities. My sense of self outside of working became so little that my work life became everything to me, and my work friends became everything to me. Like, I think I valued them and loved them a lot more than they realize, and so it meant that I made an extra effort to make them feel special, to make them feel loved and wanted and cared for. And I would always go out of my way to try and figure out a way to just make someone feel better, because I felt so horrible about myself and felt so hideous. Anyway, so saying that, then trouble started to arise when we got a new director. And because I had such a, what I believe was a really good relationship with our previous director, I thought, you know, it could be the same. I really aspired to rise in my career and feel value in something that I never felt I was ever worth anything. So I just thought, you know, if I feel worthless in my regular life, can I feel something and feel some sort of like I'm good at something in my job? And then, like I said, this new director, when I first met her, I said to her, because we all had our one-to-ones, we all got a chance to meet her and have a meeting with her just on her own. And I said to her, look, I admire you and I admire your work, and I would love to be mentored by you. And she was like, so flattered. And she was like, yes, of course, just let me know and all this. But then as time wore on, I realized that she was so much more attentive and willing to listen so much more to certain colleagues. And this is purely just my story. But I noticed that it was only really the slim, blonde, typically pretty employees that I worked with that she cared about. She really didn't like the men in my office, and didn't really seem to have much time for anybody who was of color. And I noticed that really quickly, but I was just like, you know what? In my 27 years of life and in my time here in the UK, I have experienced very little racism, and I'm so lucky for that, because I have friends who've experienced such terrible things. So I just didn't want to admit or accept that there was someone who I wanted to be one day who would have such morals that just went completely against mine. And I wanted to learn from her, but at the same time, her work ethic was so different. She believed that higher level positions was a boys' club, and that even though she was against men, she acted like how they would in the old school days, back in the day when men could smoke in the office. Not that she ever did, but what I mean is just like saying people are stupid or dumb, and she would openly say that. She would openly do things like that. She took a disliking to me very quickly because she didn't like or value people who had any kind of health issues. She saw that as a weakness to her. And she even said, because someone had gotten pregnant, in fact 2 people had gotten pregnant in my team, and she had pretty much was like, I hope no one else plans to get pregnant because that won't be tolerated here. And she could get away with so much. There was so much she got away with. One day she said to one of my colleagues, oh, about me, she's like, she's too fat to do her job. Now, my job isn't very, what is it? I'm not a PE teacher. I'm not a gym trainer. I'm not trying to teach anybody about their weight or their health or anything like that. And I've always made sure that my work has come second to my health has come second to my work. Up until, I will be fair to them, up until I decided I no longer wanted to be there, and I no longer felt like there was a solution or some kind of way to make my time, I couldn't stay there anymore, basically. And up until then I tried really hard, but I couldn't sit there anymore and have this person judge me based on my weight or my health. When I worked really hard, I did a lot, and I was a very personable person. I worked really hard to be a good employee, but everything I did, you know what, even after the name calling and her treating me very differently, I still stayed because I was like, you know what, I have really good colleagues. Then it got to the point where I started feeling like colleagues would tell on me for really silly things. Like if I'd had a hard day and I was talking to one of my close friends at work, they would then tell the director, oh, just she's been spreading stuff about this, and just really petty things like, you can't have a break. I don't drink hot drinks, but I do smoke, and I'm trying to quit. But there would be people in the office who would go to the shops or go to the cafe or even just go to the break room and make coffees and teas, and they would be gone a long time. And I had no issues with that. I don't care. But I would every so often take like a 5-minute break for a cigarette. And that became suddenly an issue. It's not like I was taking the mick. Like I wasn't trying to take advantage. I was just doing what everybody else was doing, except mine was for a cigarette. And in fact, my cigarettes were probably a lot shorter than people's coffee breaks. But no, it became an issue. I started getting mentoring from another director because I didn't feel like my director was giving, fine, it was a busy workplace, but I didn't feel like she ever really valued anything I had to say. And I really do want to grow in my career. So I started going to another director. And again, that became an issue. It became, me going against my team and making me feel very much like I was against everybody, when that wasn't the case. I just really wanted to figure out a way to get better in my career and better myself. And I really value guidance. But no, that was wrong, and it was bad of me. And even at Christmas, if I wanted to do certain charitable things or I wanted to raise the morale, it was considered bad, and it was taking company time and all these things. But then there were things that they would do or she would do that I believed was a waste of company time. And it was just very much, everything I did was just so bad and so negative. And like I said, I stuck through it. I still came in very positive, trying so hard to be positive. And I watched my colleagues and my friends leave, and it became a really horrible office to be in, really negative and really sad. And I got to the point where I was really afraid to take any sick leave because she was just so negative and so horrible about it. One day I came in with the flu, and I know I shouldn't have gone in, but I was so scared to take a sick leave that during my lunchtime I asked if I could excuse myself. I had to actually ask to leave the building. This is how petty it had gotten. And I went and slept in my car for an hour. Then I carried on working, and when I finished working, I went and slept in my car for another 2 hours just so I could find the energy to be able to get home because I was so sick. And it was just really horrible environment to be in. There's just so much more that got to it, but what really came to the point where I just couldn't be there anymore was basically when she would ignore I had a lot of projects on, and a lot of it needed to be signed off by her, but she would go through periods of for 3 weeks she wouldn't read my emails, or it'd be a week where she wouldn't read my emails. And I know she was a busy person, but my manager would then get mad at me for not having work complete, but I couldn't complete those work because my director wasn't doing it, wasn't approving or not approving my work. She just wasn't responding to me, and I just couldn't do anything about it. And I would tell my manager, and this is another thing, is I was telling my manager early on when she was saying things about my weight, or just basically saying really horrible things, feeling like a child, telling on someone, but I just didn't know what to do. I needed help. My manager would be like, oh, maybe you've misunderstood, or you're being sensitive about it. And I was like, I'm sorry. Am I being sensitive because my director is ignoring me and I can't get my own work done? So anyway, I ended up leaving that job and not working there, being off sick for a really long time because I was trying to figure out a solution to be able to go back to work because I still had really good friends there. I was disheartened by how few people messaged me. I know one of the things was that there were things being said about me. But like I said, every birthday, every special occasion, or even just if I noticed someone was feeling down, I wanted to make sure I made an effort to make them feel special. And it's not about the money I spent or the time I spent. It was all about just feeling like, okay, well, I'm really in need and suffering right now. Why haven't these people said anything to me? Don't get me wrong, I've had a few people message me, but for the most part, a lot of the people just it was like I didn't exist. I wasn't that bothered until, like I said, the 25th was my final day. I didn't go in because I was still on sick leave, and nobody messaged me, and my manager unfollowed me on Instagram. I don't care because I was planning on doing it anyway, but I just thought for almost 3 years of my life, I've given so much to this company. I have poured my heart and soul and so much of my own personal time to try and make this place a better working place. I tried really hard, and genuinely my heart was so full of just all these things. I just wanted it to be a better place. And to not even receive one thank you for your service or thank you for your work or anything, to have absolutely nobody send me even one message just to say thank you, or not even thank you, just to acknowledge that 3 years, or almost 3 years, 3 years in April basically, not to even have one person acknowledge it is so heartbreaking. It really, really crushed me. And I hate to admit that. And I hate it so much because I hate the fact that it overshadows this excitement that I have for this new job that is really a dream role. It makes me scared because of how good it was before in my old job and then how bad it got. It does make me nervous, but I'm so angry at myself, angry at nobody, angry at myself that I could let something so exciting be dampened by the fact that I thought I had more friends. And really, I didn't. Really, all this effort I put into these people wasn't really appreciated anyway, and so it shouldn't matter. But I have spent, since the 25th, it's 28th now, I've just spent my time just not really feeling great and feeling really worthless again, like I'm 12 years old. And this is a new chapter. It is. It is a great opportunity to start fresh. But really my main thing is I'm wondering, how do I move forwards? How do I not carry any of that negativity and any of that sadness into this new role and trust and just completely be fresh? Like, not to look at my new colleagues and think, you're going to break my heart soon. I'm such an emotional person. This is why I'm like, maybe I'm not in the corporate world. Like, maybe I shouldn't be in the corporate world. But at the same time, I'm like, why not? Let me try, because even though I'm a very emotional, big-hearted person who just wants to feel everything everyone feels, I feel like I'm also really strong in that I'm really creative and I'm really passionate, and yeah. But how is my question. How do I move forwards without any of that negativity and just actually genuinely start fresh? I think that's the thing that's so difficult and so scary, is fresh starts seem so exciting. But for people like me who suffer from really bad anxiety and really bad depression, and the world has shown me in various ways how it can be a really painful thing, how do we move forwards and treat every new day as a new day and every challenge as simply just a challenge? Because I can understand how you can do that if you've been knocked down once or twice. But I feel like the world is kicking me so hard right now. And I just really want to figure it out. And I'm kind of hoping that someone else out there knows or has lived through this and knows exactly what to do, or even just understands how it feels, because that's another thing. It's like, I just want to feel like I'm not on my own. I don't want sympathy though. I don't want people to be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I want someone to just turn around and be like, you know what? I know how that feels. I've lived it and I'm through it, or even I'm going through it. Then maybe we can both just hold each other and just feel something, because there's so much negativity and I just can't shake it. But anyway, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna figure out how to edit it. But my whole thing was I wanted this to be a one-take thing, Trisha Paytas style, and hopefully figure out something. If you watch this, then I'm so sorry. But also, hopefully, I don't actually know, hopefully if you're going through this, then you feel less alone. But yeah, goodbye.